Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the Connected Narrative, the first podcast we've ever done. Welcome, Jameen.
Hello, Stephen.
Yes, it's good to be here. We're on two opposite sides of the world at the moment. So we want to get into some things that might be helpful over our podcast. We want to use this as a space where we can discuss changes and ads and what's working and what's not working, what's changing. So I guess a lot of the news and everything is around Facebook at the moment. So what's happened lately, Jameen? Like, I haven't been in Australia, but I've heard there's been some crazy things happening with news. It's off, but now it's back on. And what's the latest?
So it has been an interesting couple of weeks.
Yes.
So the Australian government has taken a very firm position around giant tech companies and what they should be open and honest about, and how they should be sharing costs and passing on some of their income to, in this case, news publications. Obviously, news content does form a reasonable amount of content on, things like Facebook. And while, yes, Facebook does drive a lot of traffic to news publications, the question was whether or not that they should also be paying to have access to that content. So, that's been happening for a little while now. Discussions have been happening. And in the last couple of weeks, it all kind of seemingly came to a halt when negotiations ground to nothing. And Facebook essentially kind of had a tantrum, and they just switched off.
Pulled out without telling anybody.
Yeah, they switched off a whole stack of pages, pulled content. You weren't able to post links to news articles, all that kind of stuff. So, it happened kind of without notice. And in the kind of crossfire, there were a number of kind of government pages and charity pages and, nothing that was really news focused that had their pages pulled down as well. So that was a bit of drama. But then a couple of days later, it all came back. So, apparently conversations are still happening, and whether or not that they will have to pay for access to this content in the not too distant future, who knows? But that's what happened. It certainly was not on Facebook, but everywhere else, front page news. Everyone's been talking about it. We'll see.
Yeah, we haven't really heard any updates from Google about what they're doing.
Well, Google,
other than they're just trying to work with the government.
Yeah, and they have signed contracts individually with different news organizations to be able to list their content on their site. So I think 9MSN were one of the first groups to sign a direct contract with them. So they're obviously working proactively and taking steps to, come to some kind of an agreement, which is good, because obviously news is very entangled in the Google ecosystem. So it's kind of, hard to imagine that wouldn't continue. So,
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Well, it's interesting. I think, so moving forward, should we be scared of what's happening with the whole situation, like advertisers especially?
I don't know if we should be scared. I certainly think that it's becoming clearer just how much, I guess, big tech companies are in control. And, for advertisers and small business, it's a reminder not to have all your eggs in the one basket, and to have a diverse marketing plan, and not just to be solely reliant on, Facebook ads or Google ads. Like, it really does need to be broader than just one particular channel. And obviously, I think a lot of people got burnt over the last couple of weeks by being in that position, by relying too heavily on one particular platform, because at the end of the day, the rules are theirs to play with and change as and when they see fit, and we don't have any control over that. So, it's something obviously to think about. It definitely took up a lot of oxygen. So, everyone was talking about it. It was on the news everywhere. It was a big deal. And I think Facebook in particular were really painted as being the bad guys. So whether or not that was some kind of, long-lasting negative impact on their reputation and image in Australia, we'll see.
Yeah, I think it just goes to show how much everybody's kind of their businesses have evolved to rely more on Facebook and other social media platforms than ever before. And then, if they pull the rug and decide to change their policies and things, then there's not much we can do about it. So that's just part of the risk of business, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think moving like further into the privacy changes that were happening. So that's kind of like a news related development that's been happening. But in terms of iOS 14 from Apple and what's happening with Facebook with privacy concerns, what stage are we up to with that? Like, what's been happening lately, and is it still coming? Is it still unfolding? Where are we up to?
So it's definitely still coming. And again, it feels like, we've been talking about Facebook and their bad boy image now for a couple of months. So kind of just before Christmas, it really broke that this big change was coming. It was all, painted as it was Apple versus Facebook, and it was, Apple standing up for everybody and their consumer rights and how we had a right to privacy and all that kind of stuff. Like, again, really painting Facebook as the bad guys in this. The timing of that announcement was all very interesting, though, because obviously it was pretty much right on Christmas, so everyone was distracted with obviously holiday season, and there have been small kind of steps in the lead up to this big change that's coming over the last couple of months. So back in January, we had the first kind of big round of changes where the attribution setting changed. So previously the default was 28 days, click, 1 day view. And now that's been really tightened down to a 7-day click, 1 day view attribution setting, which is, obviously a quarter of what we had. And again, for the last couple of months, there's been news coming about how there is going to be limitations on the number of ads you can have published at any one given of time based on the size of your account. So based on how much you've been spending over, the past year. So it feels like there's been lots of things in the works that have been slowly dripping out. I am assuming that Facebook and Apple have, been working towards this for quite some time. I don't think it would have been, just a sudden decision on Apple's part. It feels like it's a big, bigger picture business move. Again, this year there have been a couple of iOS updates already rolling out. And in the last one that's been rolled out, there's actually now a setting in your privacies, if you are an iPhone user, that actually says they're collecting data for an Apple advertising platform. So clearly, they were trying to distract everybody by painting Facebook out to be the bad guys, but they're not stopping collecting the data. Clearly, it looks like they're just going to be using it for their own business advantage instead. So they're just not going to be sharing it with a broader network anymore. So previously, Google would have had access to certain things. Facebook obviously had access to certain things, and they've kind of just pulled the pin on all of that. So it is a little bit daunting because we don't exactly know how this is going to impact businesses. The things that I guess we do know are that Apple has a reasonably large market share here in Australia. So, are we thinking it's going to be somewhere between a third or a half of our audience data could suddenly be, pretty limited? It's going to be a big adjustment because we're not going to be able to see the same granular detail in the data that we're used to seeing. And we're not going to be able to really track the customer journey in as clear a way as we have been used to be seeing in Business Manager. So yeah, just a few changes.
Yeah. What do you think it'll be like for the users though? Will they notice much of a change? What do you think that'll look like?
I think that they will notice, because they're going to get pop-up alerts whenever they access different apps on their phone saying and asking for their permission whether or not they want to be tracked or not. So I think in the way that it's going to be worded, it's obviously going to paint it in a really negative light. So I think that there will be a lot of people who do decide that they don't want to be tracked anymore. So, there's that. But also, I mean, I guess it's just part of business and part of working with an ever-evolving platform. You just do need to be ready to pivot and to adjust and, to be flexible and to be ready and not be so reliant on one particular area of marketing.
Yeah, especially when, I think everyone's been riding the Facebook wave for so long. It's been really effective and been really kind of, I shouldn't say easy, but relatively simple to get customers and build your audience and get sales and build from there. It's been such a great platform, and the targeting abilities have been amazing. But that's, the cost of the user's privacy, I guess, how well developed it got. So even though we may be taking like a step or two back in terms of having the data to work with, I still think it's not going anywhere. But looking at other platforms and looking at other ways that you can diversify your online marketing, especially, there's still so many opportunities, so many platforms and things you can do and strategies you can implement. So you're not as reliant on one, because when one goes down, then your whole stream is gone, which is no good. So I don't think anyone wants to be in that position.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
and I guess it's also key to remember that it's not like once this change and update does roll out, it's not going to be a magic switch and it's not going to suddenly, stop your store from, making sales. It is going to kind of be a transition period, if you like. There's certain things, as I mentioned, that we're not going to be able to directly see anymore. So we're not going to be able to, as I said, track that customer journey. So we're not going to be able to see how many people viewed and then went on to add to cart and then went on to initiate a checkout and then went on to purchase. So part of the change is that there will be a aggregated event management. So we're only going to be able to see one action per transaction. We're also going to lose a lot of those breakdowns. So things like, being able to measure results based on the breakdown of age or gender or region or placement, all of that will slowly, start disappearing as well. And there'll also be a bit of a delay. It's reported that, sometimes we'll have up to a 3-day delay in our sales report. So, and as I mentioned, obviously the attribution period has changed as well. So really it's the reporting that's going to take a big change. And I guess, the challenge for us is, how do we still show our stores and the businesses that we work with that ads are and still can be successful? So how can we work around that? And I guess, obviously, it's important not to panic and just to ride the wave for a little bit, but to be prepared as well. And there's a couple of things that we can do to be in the best possible position and to make sure our stores are in the best possible position so that we can hopefully ride the wave as smoothly as possible.
Yeah. So we send weekly reports to our clients about performance and the data about purchases and ad statistics and things. So Yeah, definitely. We're looking at ways that we can really show as much data as we can, even from other sources, to kind of back up the data that we normally get from Facebook. And yeah, I think it's like Jermaine said, a transition, but yeah, it's just about adapting over these next few months and just seeing what happens. We don't know exactly what's going to happen, but we're just getting prepared as best we can. Other so for other advertisers and people who do run ads, what is there anything we can do like specifically over the next few months to get ready? Like what practical couple of things can we do ourselves?
Sure. So definitely, I think step one, not to panic. Step two,
Yeah.
verify your domain. So within Business
Mm.
Manager, there are a couple of options that you can do as far as, security, and just, tightening that connection between Business Manager and your site. So absolutely, if you can follow the steps to do that, to verify your domain, you want that green light to be showing you. It's just, it's pretty straightforward. Just pop an extra bit of code on your site. As I mentioned, we're going to lose some of that visibility around the events and the firing of events and the progress through events. So it's really important that you prioritize what events you want to be able to see, because there's also going to be a limit on the number that we can see. So we really have 8 options then of what events you want to track. It's a case of prioritizing what is important to you in your business. So whether it be purchases or whether it be subscriptions or whatever that might be, just again, hop into Business Manager and in the event section, look out for that new tab where you can prioritize those events. And then it's around the final step of, again, just making sure that connection with Facebook in your site is as strong as it can be. So if you're a Shopify user, for example, setting up your conversion API and exploring all the settings in there that are best suited to you to make sure that connection does stay strong. It's pretty straightforward, to be honest, that you can do all that within Shopify. If you're not a Shopify user or want to go down a different path, it looks like you can build out a more comprehensive, structure within Google Tag Manager and server-side KPI. So that will take a little bit more development, a little bit more time to set up, but that's another option that you can explore as well. And I guess as far as tracking the success of your campaigns, it doesn't look like we are going to be able to, report on campaigns in the same way that we have done previously. But obviously we still want to have some visibility and we want to be able to share the results of campaigns too. So establishing a best practice between, UTM parameters and your Google Analytics accounts, and pairing that information up with Facebook and Business Manager reporting to really kind of build out your picture. So, I think we'll be all spending a little bit more time, just trying to work out what reporting will look like now too. So, again, if at least if you have things like UTM parameters in place, you will be able to, have a little bit more insight too.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Yeah, well, I think that just about covers it for today in that topic. But yeah, very interesting. I think we'll just repeat again: don't panic, because the sky's not falling. Facebook's not going to disappear, and it's still going to work. Your ads are still going to work. It's just a bit of a change, and we're working on new ways to track and make sure that campaigns are still working as effective as possible. But yeah, also at the same time, it's time to look into other opportunities as well. Like, what have you been neglecting? Possibly like Google, SEO, YouTube ads, mailing list strategies. There's so many things to look into. So it's just a very interesting time, and yeah, we love looking at all these options and strategizing around them. So yeah. Anything to add, Jermaine, to finish off today?
I don't think so. I guess at the end of the day, Facebook is a business. they want to make money. They're not going to just disappear without a fight. So I think we'll all be staying tuned and
exactly.
be waiting for the next update or the next iteration of Facebook advertising. Sure, it might look different for a little while, but I have no doubt that it's going to continue to be a really strong area for a lot of businesses.
Yes. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Hope you enjoyed. We'll catch you next time. Bye.
Okay. Bye.